Welcome to St Barnabas Church in Clarksfield, Oldham. Today we're going to look at the Mary Magdalene window. It was installed in 1926 in memory of William Dodsworth and his wife Janie. Our first question as we look at the window is to ask, how do we know that she is Mary Magdalene? Well, most obviously because her name is written across the centre of the window. But we can tell anyway, because the window was painted in code. When stained glass windows were first being installed into churches, most worshippers could not read, so the clues to help us identify the person depicted were embedded in the image. We call this ancient form of artwork iconography. So let's look at this lovely window in St Barnabas. Let's start by noticing that the woman is clasping something to her chest. It's a casket, a jar. In the Bible, in Luke's Gospel, chapter 7 starts as Jesus is dining with his friends. Suddenly, an unnamed woman enters. She's broken and sobbing. She kneels before Jesus and anoints his feet with perfumed oil from the jar and with her tears, then wipes his feet dry with her hair. The men are offended by this sinner in their presence and talk about her as if she wasn't even there. They suggest she's an immoral woman, perhaps a prostitute, a sex worker. This traditional interpretation is reflected in the iconography in this window. The woman's hair is uncovered and flows loose. Well, the only Palestinians who wore their long hair loose like this were girls too young to marry, or sex workers. And in case we miss that subtlety, her hair is dyed red. Dyed because no Palestinian girl could ever have red hair, unless she dyed it. And only a prostitute in that society would dye their hair and show it off. Now we understand why this woman's face is sad and penitent. In some traditions, Mary Magdalene is known as the Penitent. Although almost certainly a victim in her own right, she's been made to feel that being forced into prostitution is her own fault. But, spoiler alert, this woman has learnt about Jesus and glimpses freedom. She knows he is willing to mix with women, mix with sinners, with anyone who comes to him in penitence and faith. Our story doesn't end here. Jesus forgives her, and that act of spiritual liberation leads to physical freedom, and she becomes a disciple. The iconography of the window tells us more. Mary is wearing a dress of rich red, which implies, to use a phrase still in use, that she's a scarlet woman. But draped over the red dress is a rich robe of pure white, the colour of new life and purity. She's been forgiven and has put on a new life that is pure and clean. Jesus' forgiveness quite literally clothes her in a new purity. We see a hint of that new life when Mary Magdalene appears one last time in the Bible. It's Easter Day, and Mary comes to Jesus' tomb. The Bible in Matthew chapter 27 tells us that she's come to anoint his dead body with oils and spices. No doubt she's using exactly the same alabaster jar to anoint the same body. The first time, he was spiritually alive and she was spiritually dead. This time, her body is alive and she believes his body is dead. And just as he witnesses her resurrection, so now she witnesses his. We see this magnificent piece of Christian art each time we enter St Barnabas Church. It reminds us that Jesus offers us a new life, whatever we've done in the past, whatever others have done to us. All we have to do is to accept his offer of new life.